you tell a common story, and it's one that I see frequently, um, and excused by schools for a myriad of reasons. Um, I mean, I can sit there and give you a list of the excuses, but it's amazing the damage caused to our children, not by us as parents. And this is where I don't want you to internalize, um, which, I could sit there and tell you not to internalize, but I've got a wife as well that we have children together, and how she views her role is not, it's different than how I view mine. So no matter what I say, it just, I can't stop her from being mom and feeling responsible. But I can tell you, in this situation, you know, you're up against people that are supposed to be the experts, and they're supposed to be knowledgeable, and they're supposed to be there to help, and they're supposed to be there to be understanding and compassionate and merciful and judicious, and they're not, because they're human. But not enough thought or care was put into your son's situation. Instead, you got the litany of excuses. Oh, he'll grow out of it. Oh, that's just what boys do. With a absolute failure to recognize any underlying or latent issues that they had a responsibility to identify, not you. So what I always tell parents is that you don't know what you don't know. And the thing about this law is that you're not required to know. You're not expected to know. You're not an expert in this area. You're an expert in your son, and that is why you continued and continued and continued to get somebody to listen. Finally, somebody did. But now you're dealing with the fallout. Now you're dealing with a kid that's been damaged by the education system. He's not going to listen to you. Not on everything, because you're your mom, you love him, and he knows you love him. But the institution that's connected to education, see, they've told him he's not smart, and he's not excelling in this area, and they're the ones that tend to have our children's ears and confidence, unfortunately, when it comes to situations like that. So what do you do about it? You sort of never did finish it on whether or not he has services now. He was diagnosed with this dyslexia and other learning disabilities. Okay, so does he have an IEP now? Accommodations are in place, but is he getting specialized instruction? Now, what can you do? I believe you live in Texas. And if you live in Texas, you have a 1-year statute of limitations. That's it. You don't get 2 years. You get 1 year statute of limitations. And you can't go back further than that. There are some loose provisions that would allow it, but you had notice. You knew that they had a responsibility. Yes, they failed your son, but at the same time, can they be held liable for that? No. The safety nets are there for a reason, but at the same time, there's also provisions in there that we don't hold teachers or administrators individually liable because a child wasn't making progress. Now, their failure to identify him in a timely manner, this is what irritates me about North Carolina and Texas, is that they have a 1-year statute. So you can't reach back further than that. You can in extreme situations, but you, from what your scenario says, wouldn't be within that small, it wouldn't be in that exception. What would help your son? Counseling would help your son. And counseling with somebody that has probably a male mentor, role model type of counselor that has an expertise in working through the kind of self-esteem damage that he has, thinking that he's stupid. I mean, like I said, it just some of the stuff can't come from mom. It has to come from somebody else, and then you reinforce that. The other thing is that if he has no interest in continuing his education through college, that doesn't mean he's not continuing his education. Education can be in whatever interest area or trade that he is impassioned about. So identify what that passion is. And the one thing that you can do, and I don't know whether he has a 504 or he has an IEP now, but if he has an IEP, then he would be transition age, which means that he would be entitled to what's called linkages, transition services, linkages to outside agencies that could sit there and help direct him toward an interest area. What is he interested in? What is he passionate about? And a lot of kids, that's not college. That doesn't mean that the education doesn't stop, because if you're a welder, if you do construction, if you're an artist, or most of that stuff is not a degreed area, but it's a hyper technical area that requires a heck of a lot of education and a lot of experience. So, find out what he loves, and then start directing him that area in that area. And take the heat off of the unnecessary and arbitrary and artificial competition that we've inserted into high school and into college, that this is some kind of rat race. And because guys, most of us go to college, rack up unnecessary debt that we don't end up finishing degrees, but we're still responsible for that debt because we were caught in that rat race of believing that somehow a degree led to a golden paradise. Well, and I know some of you are going, well, that's nice of you to say you have a JD. I do. But, you guys don't know my story of how I got here, okay? And it wasn't an easy route, and I didn't give up. But I can tell you that I am not a good standardized test taker. Never have been. There's a lot of arbitrary factors that we have inserted into our education system that I think is damaging the kids, damaging the self-esteem, and that includes me. And so luckily I married a wonderful woman that did believe in me and helped sort of me navigate through some of my nonsense that was reinforced by people I should never have believed. Okay. You could do something. I don't know how long ago that all of this was corrected with regards to him being identified. But whenever that point was of him being identified, you have a year from that point to get some corrective action and hold some people accountable. But if it was over a year ago, because I think you're in Texas, no. But it doesn't mean that you can't press for more now. You can't, he's got a little bit more time. And so, yes, you can correct some of this. But I wanted to throw out some additional outside ideas to sort of help you take that into consideration.